All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Instagram Constellation Station. I'm filling in for Nicole again this week while she's out of town. Don't worry, Nicole will be back next week to share all of her excellent constellation stories with you guys. So if you remember last week we talked about Draco the Dragon. And I told you that this week we'd be learning all about a constellation that was related to Draco. So I'm going to move out of the way so you can fully see it. So this is our constellation for this week. Probably doesn't look like much yet, but this is Hercules, the mighty Greek hero. So Hercules, you guys have probably heard of. He was a demigod, the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and a mortal woman. And Hercules had 12 labors that he had to perform. Now, of these 12 labors, there's a lot of other constellations that are actually tied in. Leo the lion was one of Hercules' 12 labors. Hydra was one of Hercules' 12 labors, and actually Cancer the crab was a distraction that Hera sent to get Hercules not to complete his 12 labors. But the penultimate, or the second to last labor, was to sneak into the Hesperides garden and steal one of Hera's golden apples. So Hera had this magic apple tree that had golden apples, and she planted it in the garden on the top of Mount Atlantis, and the Hesperides' job was to guard it. So the Hesperides were these young women who were the daughters of Atlas, and Atlas, of course, was the titan whose job it was to hold up the ball of the earth. Now, Hera was not convinced that the Hesperides would be able to guard her golden apple tree, so she sent Draco the dragon to guard the Hesperides. So when Hercules wanted to sneak up to Mount Atlas and steal a golden apple, he first had to fight Draco the dragon. And unfortunately for Draco, he killed him. But Hera, to honor Draco's memory, made him into a constellation. Now, this constellation of Hercules is actually kind of hard to figure out, because if we look at it, it just looks a little scrambled. So I'm going to put up our connecting lines, and we'll see if that helps us a little bit. So I'm going to connect the main part of the constellation first. And I'm going to see if I can do it with one long piece of ribbon. So we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to start right here. Now, this main part is Hercules' body. So this is Hercules' body, but it's also a very famous asterism. So an asterism is any sort of shape up in the night sky that we might make that is not an official constellation. So this is a lot easier to find, as far as I'm concerned, than the actual constellation of Hercules. But what we call this asterism here in the middle of Hercules' body, we call it the keystone, because it kind of looks like a keystone, like in an archway. All right, so we're most of the way there. You might be able to start seeing this keystone taking shape. If I could get my tape to come off. All right. So we just got one more turn to get this up here. All right. So there's Hercules' body. I'm going to cut off our extra ribbon so we can see it pretty well. So there's the big keystone that makes up Hercules' body. So you can see it's a little bit bigger at one end, smaller at the other, just like a keystone in an archway would be. And actually, Hercules is upside down in the night sky, at least during this part of the year. So Hercules' head would actually be way down here. So there's our keystone. That's pretty easy to find up in the night sky because those 4 stars, not super bright, but they're fairly bright, and they make that kind of awkward square shape. But the rest of the constellation is a little bit harder. So we've got his legs to start off with. So here's one of Hercules' legs up here. Now, in this constellation, Hercules is meant to be kneeling, because the constellation of Draco is, well, depending on where you're looking at, is above or below Hercules in the night sky. So he's meant to be kneeling on Draco in triumph, kneeling on Draco's head. So these are actually his legs that I'm putting up here. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think it looks very much like a Greek hero yet. we'll see when we get done. All right, so there's Hercules' legs splayed out. You can kind of see the bend in the knee there where he's kneeling on Draco. And now we'll do his arms. All right. So we got one arm right here. There's one. And we've got our other arm over on this side. Comes down like this. For whatever reason, this other arm is really long and has this part that comes off to the side. Maybe he's shouting in triumph and waving his arms over his head as he defeated the dragon. Not entirely sure. So then, these aren't all of the stars that make up the Hercules constellation. There are some additional ones, including a really tiny little star way down here that would make up Hercules' head. But I didn't include all those because this is the main part of Hercules' body. So we've got his body, his legs, his arms, and then Draco would be up there. So if you can find Draco in the night sky, kind of keep following Draco along, and then Hercules is near Draco and also near Vega, that star that we talked about last week. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining me on Constellation Station. Like I said, Nicole will be back next week to teach you more fun things about mythology and constellations. Thank you.